Hey, back again. A little bit of a lapse since the last time I was filming because actually having some trouble connecting to my GoPro. So I think we're up and running now. Hopefully we don't lose the connection because I did like the other day. But yeah, I didn't want the fact I couldn't get my camera working to keep me from working on this guy. I'm gonna try to make some good progress today. So you can see that this head has progressed considerably since the last time I was videoing. I just wanted to keep going. I got excited about doing it, and so you can see I started to finish these tentacles up. I even got to the point where I started smoothing out these tentacles with my Sculpey oil. I actually mix up a bit of oil in a shot glass like this. It's the Sculpey oil. This is the new container they sell it in. Some people break it down and actually mix it with a little turpentine or something to cut it. I use it straight because what I do is I just get a little bit on the brush, just a little bit, and then I will go over my detail like this. Very, very gingerly, slowly. What it is the Sculpey oil is a solvent. It actually in some ways breaks down the Sculpey slightly, but it'll get rid of fingerprints, cut marks, sharp edges where I want maybe a little bit more of a smoother transition from wrinkle to wrinkle. So yeah, like I said, I don't know of a lot of sculptors that use it straight without cutting it, but I prefer it that way. So I encourage anyone that's going to give it a try, because almost every sculptor that works in whatever medium, at some point you use some kind of solvent or some kind of liquid of some kind to actually smooth out the details, whether you're using Chavant clay, you're using monster clay, whatever. I've even heard about people taking monster clay and using a torch that will melt it slightly to get a softer look to their details. So that's what I'm doing right here. I kind of got ahead of myself. I shouldn't really be doing this until I get more of these details finished. But take a look at this head. Hopefully you can see some of the detail up here, where I was going in and making those wrinkles on the forehead, and I put little random warts, which I literally will take the tiniest bit of Sculpey, you know, and I will roll it into a tiny, tiny round ball, and I will adhere that actually to the top of the head somewhere. I'm not going to put this down there because I don't really want one up there, but and then I smooth it down with my tool to make all those little individual warts up there on the forehead. You can see that the face is pretty well finished. I got the wrinkles around the eyes. I was talking about that kind of hanging moss detail that I wanted to put around the bottoms of where the mouth might be, because I thought it kind of had kind of connotations of a skull, the teeth on a skull. I'm going to wait a little bit before I really get into like the neck area, because I want to be able to finish that once the head is baked, because I'll be able to hold it by the head and finish off that neck area. You can see I started mapping out some of the musculature in this upper arm. I might try to get to that today with the video, because I did print out some reference. You can see I'll put together these reference sheets where, you know, any certain body area that I need, I will get reference to kind of get myself started. When I do the legs, I will get probably reference for the legs, torso, all that stuff. Definitely the skeletal structure of a human being. I will need that too when I start getting into the rib cage and the spinal column. But you can see I just go and try to find any kind of really clean bodybuilder reference. You can see anything that's got really serious definition to musculature, so I know exactly where everything's at. I kind of like these because they had some vein work that you can see in these guys' physiques, and I'm going to kind of make a kind of correlation between vein work and root system when I'm doing the Man-Thing's body. because I kind of like that, that there's a similarity between the two. Speaking of which, I also printed out some reference for cool root systems. You can see things that you might find in a swamp. I like some of the twisted bark that I have here, twisted vine work. I mean, look at that, how cool those roots in this centerpiece are. Looks very organic, looks alive. How similar these root systems are to veins. I thought this trunk would be perfect for one of the legs, the one leg that is more tree trunk. Then I'm going to have mushrooms all over his back, which will kind of spill out onto his shoulder. So I got all this stuff to kind of, why try to make it up when nature is such, I hear a lot of designers say nature is the greatest creature designer, and I agree. So why try to make it up? Why not take a look at what life has to offer and use that as a springboard for doing your detail? So just looking at this arm, I'm gonna find one of my rakes. Kind of had to scoop everything to the side. I had to kind of put this guy up on two stands because I'm trying to get this camera at a level where you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. So I had to raise it up considerably. My chair is at its lowest setting, so I think this is getting into a point where you can kind of see what I'm working on. So I'm going to try starting to get some shaping going on this arm. Just grab this referenced images that I have. Look at the shoulder down here. I'm going to try to get some of that cool winding muscle kind of indicated here real quick. Just because I picked a lot of reference doesn't mean I'm not going to still try to improvise a little bit, which I might do. Sometimes it's cool to kind of add more than what is in the human anatomy, because basically he's not human anymore, so it gives me a little leeway. But as I said before, it's good to have somewhere to start. Let's see what I can do with this larger rake. You can see these are really cool for just shaping these different large areas. To clean the rake off every once in a while. See that? How cool that is. Gets it really nice and smooth too, because all I got to do is run my finger across that, smooths everything out. And depending on how much pressure I put on it, I can take big gouges out, or I can take just a very thin layer. You can see I'm starting to get where I want to be real quick. Keep this handy where I can see it. Do have a little bit more of a cut here with the triceps. Hopefully I'm not putting my head up too high that you can't see what I'm doing here. But this is actually a fun stage. I love doing the detail and everything, but once I discovered the magic that these rakes can do for get in some of these big areas, really get into it. You can see a lot of the musculature on the lower arm. I kind of had that already kind of mapped out. Let's take a look. I probably should have printed out some images of the back of this dude's shoulder. Kind of pretty comfortable with where I'm going with the back right here. We always have that big split between what is this? I'm trying to remember the name of this muscle. I should know this stuff by now. I love how all these muscles kind of knit together in certain areas. And I'll have to lower this guy on the stand. You can see I'm getting a lot of stray shavings. Usually I try to have like a little area, some kind of like little Tupperware thing down here that'll catch these as they fall, because I'll continue to, I mean, that's good sculpting, man. I don't want to lose that. So making sure that it doesn't all go over the floor, because it usually does, and I got to clean up every once in a while as I track Sculpey all through my house. But most of the time I'm trying to catch it down there on the bottom. Don't want that severe of a cut between the muscles there. But you'll find that I saw an artist one time posted this image of how muscles interlock with each other. And once you kind of understand that principle, that for the most part, muscles do have a tendency to weave together like chains, chain links, where you got that. If you kind of understand that principle, you kind of see how muscles do lock together. I mean, that being, a link in the chain, and this being a link in the chain. I think that the minute I started to notice that, or when I was, I saw that as a guiding principle, it really made sense to me, and it really has helped me kind of take that next step to understand the interlocking and the weaving of how muscles work. Might get to a point where I might start smoothing some of this out with my arm, my hand, I'm sorry, so you guys can see what I'm ending up with. I'm going to have to lower this guy down to do the upper part of the muscles, because there's some muscles actually up top that also interlock in here that I will have to start getting to. But I hope you see, these are great for kind of getting all this stuff figured out. We'll probably be adding a lot of wrinklage and stuff. I think down here I actually have a big root that kind of separates the shoulder from the bicep. Oops. Yeah, sometimes I get my rake kind of turned around. It works surprisingly well on the other side too, but definitely prefer the rakes. See this? Very cool. Totally getting this arm where it needs to be for the next stage. Yeah, let's smooth this out a little bit so you can see where I'm at. See that? How cool is that? Still gonna come in there with some other tools. try to figure out a way that I can, I mean, look at that. That almost looks like, you know, exposed muscle. And I think if I had a tool that had a little bit smoother teeth on it, I might be able to actually use that to get a little bit of that like exposed, ridged muscle detail. Not for this sculpt, but for maybe one in the future. I will still need to even, I think this dude kind of comes up here and locks. There's a little bit of that interweaving that I was talking about. So I might even have to start adding a little bit up here to see, to kind of indicate where these muscles are woven together. Makes it a little bit smoother transition up into that shoulder. But look at that. Starting to get some definite indications of anatomy. I'll probably get a little deeper down in there. And then this has there's an actual split that happens here. Once again, that kind of chain link effect that I was talking about, where I'd probably want to come in even in there. See? But most important thing is whenever you're working on, I mean, I've worked on, you know, animals for a number of companies that are realistic wildlife and stuff like that. And I've always gone on the internet and found the best anatomy images I can for, and almost any animal you can find a breakdown of its musculature and everything, but you can kind of see that once you start understanding anatomy and how these muscles kind of come together, you can start to come up with something that's pretty convincing. That's not to say I'm still not going to be digging a little deeper here, bulging some of this stuff out, because it is more of a monstrous and fanciful, altered version of human anatomy. So I will also be exaggerating the hell out of it, but at least starting with realistic musculature. So that's a little bit of that. I might even go in here. I got this side of the head pretty well underway. You can see